We're back with Frank Holmes, CEO of U.S. Global Investors and the chairman of Hive Blockchain. Frank, welcome back to the show. Exciting program. You have a new ETF on the way. Now, you're involved with a lot of different industries already. You've got the gold side, you've got the crypto side, you're in the jets, and now you've got a new ETF launching soon called SEA, S-E-A. Tell us about this. Very exciting.
Well, what we learned from jets and wheels up, because November the 8th was yesterday, and this is a very significant day for global travelers wanting getting inbound into the U.S., driving across the border from Canada to the U.S. or flying in, particularly from Europe. They've had a 2-week holiday. They basically got stuck in Mexico City or they got stuck in Canada before they could come in. Now the skies are open. And what we've seen is a couple $100 million flow into jets, and it's appreciated 10% this month. And it's a talk of the town yesterday on CNBC. But in that whole experience of jets and watching it grow, what we recognized during COVID is that the cargo airlines were incredibly resilient. They had that what we call the AQ, the high adversity quotient we talked about earlier. They were just robust in how they conducted themselves and the turnaround. And then we saw with cargo moving basically chips. I know this from Hive Blockchain, getting new chips and moving equipment from Asia over to Sweden and to Iceland and to Quebec and into New Brunswick. We had lots of learning experiences here because it was great difficulty. And why? Because of climate change and some of the thought process of Europe and the UN all of a sudden disrupted. There's not enough ships with low carbon quality oil that they want to move products around. You have the COVID shutdown, then you have this huge pent up demand, and bingo, we have this huge price inflation. And I believe, based on the logistics and building new ships and being able to move all the global economy and the amount of money being printed, these shipping companies from cargo to the sea have tremendous pricing power, such as 10 kilograms a year ago to move equipment, ships from Asia was $10 a kilogram, and now it's over 100. So that's just to give you an idea for flying, and the same thing for shipping. So there's a big boom going on. And also, David, it correlates with the Purchasing Manufacturers Index, which I always talk about. It's a great leading indicator about economic activity.
Yeah.
If the ships are unraveling, well, why? That must be something wrong with economic activity.
Okay, so let's talk about shipping. So you told me offline that your ETF is 80% cargo ships and 20% shipping by air. Now, we'll get into the composition in a little more detail in just a minute, but I want to talk about shipping. Obviously, you're aware that there is a global supply chain issue it's been ongoing for a while. Ships are backed up in the Port of Los Angeles, for example. I read recently this report. If you lined up all the containers back to back from all the ships that are backed up in the Port of LA, and you line up all these containers side by side, you can stretch from LA all the way to the East Coast. So what's causing this blockade, so to speak?
Well, it's some of the, like I mentioned earlier, climate change and some of the policies related to that came out of the UN. They had unintended consequences. And then all of a sudden, a lot of the ships, they say you can no longer go into seaports if you have this quality of oil from like Venezuela. So all of a sudden, you take out 25% of all the ships. But the world is booming again. The money supply is exploding. We're seeing real assets explode. We're seeing so many different assets go through the roof here. And so I believe that these logistics issues, they're not going away. They're going to continue. So you have to go to who has pricing power. So if there's a lack of supply, but demand is big, that means that commodity goes up or that service price goes up. And that's what we see. It's so simple. When we talk about Bitcoin, cap the 21 million coins. More people believe it's going to grow exponentially. Mm-hmm. You cap the supply of shipping and you turn around and print trillions and trillions of dollars by the G7 countries. It has to turn around and create a huge boom in this industry.
Yeah, I want to show you this chart here. If you take a look at my screen here, this is the Baltic Dry Index that measures the average cost of shipping. As you know, spiked up dramatically this year as a result of COVID and other supply chain logistical problems. Recently, in the last month, it's dropped dramatically. We know why it's run up, but why this dramatic drop? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, a lot of this has to do with the battle between Australia and China on coal and iron ore, in particular iron ore, and so it's more of that commodity shipment, and it's a small sliver of really the overall shipping. If you looked and started to increase the universe, and you started adding other your Samsung refrigerators,
Mhm.
etc., it's a complete different ship to move across the Pacific, and their pricing powers remain very robust and strong.
Okay. Now, Frank, do you think that shipping costs will continue to normalize downward? Do you think that's a possibility, or do you think it'll remain elevated for the foreseeable future?
I think it's going to be elevated for the foreseeable future. I just don't see the number of ships coming on stream, the number of airplanes that move just the cargo to get a big discount. Then you're going to have inflation embedded in because the price of oil is up. So therefore, your cargo flying things around has to go up. And this is the reality. We're living in a very understated inflationary world. You know, if you go to the gas pump, you know, if you buy eggs and bread, the inflation is much more than 4%. That's a bit of a joke. But what really the real estate is showing you, because real estate in the US is up 19%. They always, because it's cheap money. Well, it's just telling you there's inflation here. Uh, we saw the price of lumber go up 100%, correct? But still, there's still shortages. So I don't think it's all of a sudden, as Powell says, it's going to go away quickly. I doubt it.
Yeah. Okay. So shipping, how important is the shipping cost or the average shipping cost to determining broader inflation? Because presumably, if the cost of shipping is high, the cost of raw materials is going to be higher, and everybody has, if that's the base point, right? Everything else is going to just build on top of that.
And it's going to get passed on to the consumer. And that's why you're getting big pricing power. Like in San Antonio, pre the COVID, you were paying dishwashers $12 an hour. Now it's 20.
Yeah. Okay.
You're talking about an $8 as a percentage of 12 is a big move. This is a 40% move in salaries. So we're seeing that not just only professionals, it goes right down to dishwashers everywhere in San Antonio. And I'm not sure in Montreal, but I know in Austin, I know in San Antonio, there's signs and posts everywhere looking for workers. And you have to pay a higher price because the shipment of everything has gone up. So we have this embedded inflationary sort of consumed by the python, and it's moving down. And it's going to take several years as this pricing continues. So who has the pricing power? When I created Jets, it was because it was after all the bankruptcies and the airlines all of a sudden cut a third of their flights and doubled the prices. And they had pricing power. And they continued with ancillary fees, and they kept raising them and raising them. And all of a sudden they just took off. This is the same thing here. There's a pent up wind at the sail in cargo shipping that's got, I think, another 3 years of a great run.
Okay, interesting. Final point about shipping, and we'll move on. Now, take a look at my screen one more time. I have a headline to show. This came in from CNBC just today. JP Morgan says supply chain pressures are easing. Time to buy S&P 500 and these stocks. So forget the second part. Supply chain pressures are easing. Do you agree with that statement?
No.
Okay. Straight to the point. That's why we like you, Frank.
No, I'm going to give you my anecdotal. I go
Yeah,
to
please.
Target, and Target, you know, they told me at Target, buy what you can buy now. You're buying lights for Christmas, you buy them now. Do not wait till Thanksgiving because you won't have any more. There's no more to backup supply. We will not have any more shipped in. So when I hear that, I bought new Nike shoes, Kipchoge for running, the guy that ran the marathon in 2 hours. Well, you can't get them here in the U.S. I got them in Dubai at an alternative asset management conference, and it was predominantly Bitcoin, which really impressed me that I could get all these shoes, but they're all sold out here.
Yeah, luxury items. Rolexes, you can't get them anywhere.
And by the way, luxury items, I have a luxury fund, US Lux, and I created that in June. I read at the bottom of 2020, and it's crushed the S&P 500. Yes, luxury goods. Forget Walmart, go to Costco. You know, that's how the paradigm has shifted.
Okay. Now let's go back to C. So can you give us just a few examples of the components of your ETF?
Well, it's 80% cargo ships, and then it's 20% cargo jets.
Yes.
So it have cargo from the Canada has a well-known cargo airline, and it's based on a quant model. It rebalances once a quarter, and it's based on who is demonstrating the strongest growth in revenue per share and cash flow per share, and then who has least amount of debt on a relative basis. A lot of shipping companies have a lot of debt. It's something that's always been highly leveraged. The debt capital in the world for financing this is Singapore. So it's important to follow what's happening in Singapore and logistics. And it's very highly correlated to commodity demand and global trade. So it really relates to my global resource funds and my world of gold and purchasing manufacturers index. So I think this is just one of those great products. If I see the PMIs turning, like I said a year ago, they're taking off. This is one of those products that will all of a sudden give you this massive 100% moves on the upside.
Mm-hmm. And what does the PMI tell you right now? Are we in an economic period of economic expansion still?
No, we've topped. We've topped.
Okay.
There's no big contraction, but we've topped. And I think people are trying to digest the price inflation of oil into their pricing count and what can they pass on. And what's happening in the U.S., a lot of people will not go back to work unless you're going to pay them much more money because they know it's just so much more expensive to live.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the ISM PMI. It's still, you're right. It's it has topped. It's slowed down a little bit. It's above 60. It's above 50 still. So still, above 50 still means the economy is somewhat expanding, but it's not.
Well, what's important is that you have got to look at the global PMI, and then the China PMI is 50% of all commodity demand is China. So the China PMI is much more strongly correlated with gold and base metals, sure. Whereas when you look at America, it's Boeing jets. We export GE MRI machines, and so it's a different sort of foreign currency movement.
So what does that mean for commodities then? And I'm going to include gold and silver into the commodities basket. So you've got.
I think the great trade this quarter is gold. I just think it's mathematically, when you look at any time we've had such big negative real interest rates, that gold has a surge. And when it happens, everyone will be shocked by it. And when you look at the gold mining companies, I just wish they would adopt what a lot of the crypto mining companies do. We HODL, HODL, hold on for dear life. Hold on, take 10% of your free cash flow and don't sell the gold. Own it if you really believe it. And the issue is that a lot of crypto mining executives believe in Bitcoin and Ethereum, especially the Bitcoin audience. But gold guys can't wait to sell their gold because they really don't believe. The last guy that really believed was Rob McEwen when he was building Goldcorp. And I believe that today Gran Colombia is the only one that's hodling 5 or 10% of their gold production. Mm-hmm. But so many other companies just bank it away. Gold should be at $4,000 an ounce today based on the G7 money printing and the negative real interest rate spread with the 10-year government bond. So back it up, be long gold.
Yeah, look, I mean, what the crypto people are doing are quite smart. If I were a crypto company, I would hold it too. I mean, isn't that just taking supply off the equation? And of course, with lower supply, you're going to have to see a price increase down the line, isn't it?
Well, if you really love that Andy Warhol painting, you don't flip it really quickly. You hold on.
That's right.
That's the difference. It's like Kitco has incredible smart gold coin collectors. And yeah, they buy some just the normal coin production, but the collectors, they know that if there's a limited supply of any stamp or any gold, that over time it appreciates. And now what's happening is that we're getting the digitization of baseball cards with NFTs and NBA and NHL. So we're seeing the crypto space that we're using blockchain and Ethereum all of a sudden come into other parts of the sort of monetization by digitizing collectible assets. So the fact that they're monetizing these other assets means that the blockchain itself and the limited supply of Bitcoin and Ethereum, they're going to appreciate.
Okay. So let's talk about Ethereum then as we speak today. Just today, Ethereum and Bitcoin on Tuesday have both reached new all-time highs. Can you give us some reasons for this push in the last couple of weeks?
Well, I think it's historically going in the last quarter. We do get the big a pop here in the Bitcoin and Ethereum enthusiasts, and I do believe that there's much more adoption. Just like you start off with J.P. Morgan and Bank of America, they love Ethereum, but the crypto ecosystem is really Maximus or ardent gold bugs for me because they believe they read from the same the Bible of printing money. They basically look at the Pentateuch and they give you history case study after history case of governments destroying their paper money. And what's great to own during all is gold. And now all of a sudden we have a new audience that are more current in all government destroying paper money, and it's Bitcoin. So they're much more captivated on the preservation of capital, and the value of Bitcoin is going to grow exponentially. Ethereum, they believe it, but really the ecosystem is many more scientists. They're many more sort of like a socialist mindset scientist. And they want everything to try to be free. And it's really fascinating to me to watch. It has more of a hierarchy who dictates where they're going in the direction, whereas as Bitcoin is much more horizontal and diversified and non-centralized around the world.
It's interesting. Do you think DeFi is becoming more CeFi, more centralized, so to speak?
No, I don't. I think it's just very creative. If you know how to code and you think you can digitize something, we made an investment in Hive in DeFi. We listed it on the Neo Exchange in Toronto, and it's done spectacularly well. They have almost $400 million in their ETF equivalent in the Nordic countries alone, in Sweden. So there's something there. It's very profitable. And now we talk about NTE.V. I think that this is a company that makes money. The businesses turn because of COVID's behind them, making documentaries of icons. They have done Muhammad Ali. They have done Bruce Lee. They have done many great icons. They're going to start the plan to digitize all those films. So think of Andy Warhol having 1,000 prints of Mao. And those prints came out at $1,000. And he had 5 colors. And all of a sudden they go to $250,000 each of them. As China's economic boom took place, they all wanted to have the colorful original, one of the prints of Mao. It's because it's a collector's item. What happens when you have Bruce Lee and you have the footage and you have the IP? Ha-ha!
Frank, last question. What are you gonna make your own NFTs, Frank? When can we buy a Frank Holmes NFT?
No, not for me. I like to invest in young minds like you, young guys like you. That's my vision, to see you prosper and see other people use their creative juices to create wealth and joy and prosperity and health for other people.
All right. Well, thank you for that. And I still would like to see a Frank Holmes NFT. I think that would be very popular. I think that would sell well on the first day. But we'll see. Maybe down the line you'll change your mind. Frank, thank you again for your analysis. Good luck with the launch of the C ETF. That's SEA ticker. We'll be watching out for that, and we'll follow up next time. Thank you.
Wheels up.
And thank you for watching Kitco News. I'm David Lin. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And next week on Wednesday, tune in on the 17th of November to our live interactive debate between Alex Mashinsky, CEO of Celsius Network, and Peter Schiff, CEO of Euro Pacific Capital. The event will be moderated live by Michelle McCory, editor-in-chief of Kitco News, and audience participation is welcome. Tune in on the 17th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time and submit your questions live.